that time of week once more for Muji and Dan to give you the comic store. It's time to open up those bags and boards, fans. Welcome to Get Your Pulls. Welcome to Getchyapulls number 104. This is Dan.
This is Todd.
Jeremy over here.
No Muji, conspicuous by his absence. He is currently tending to a washing machine malfunction, and he had to go to the laundromat. Hopefully he didn't run into the Punisher there, but Muji's a clean guy, so he wouldn't, nothing would happen to him, even if he did. But, let's just say he mistook him for Lex Luthor. Let's just say, we don't want that to happen. So, but in any event, he's going to be here later via the miracles and magic of technology. We're going to kick to Muji after we get done with the news segment, and then he's going to come and he's going to do his reviews as well at that time, and then we're going to come right back, kick it with the reviews. It'll be like he never left.
Exactly. Yeah.
How's everybody doing tonight, guys?
Pretty damn good.
Pretty well. Glad to be here finally. We've been working on this one for a while. I got a pretty tall stack.
Yeah.
This has been the cursed episode. Like, we've tried to get together so many times, and
false starts.
The holidays or this, that, and like family got sick, my family got sick, your family got sick, Muji had unexpected things, and it just really was difficult to get together, but we're glad to be here. I mean, we're overloaded with news at this point. Like, we picked the worst time to take a month off because we got bombarded with all of this epic shit just out of nowhere, and it's pretty wonderful. It's about, you thought a couple summers ago when the Avengers came out, you're like, man, this is the best time in the world to be a nerd. And then you had no idea 2015 was going to roll around and just kick that right in the nuts.
It was just a glut of everything out there, just converging on us at once.
Yeah, it's all pretty much good.
I'm good for it.
Amazing too.
It's absolutely amazing. I'm really so excited about so many things that have been announced just over the past week alone, let alone the past month since we've been here. But of course, this past week was Trailer Mania. We had possibly the greatest one day for movie trailers of all time. In one day, we got to see the full-length trailer, finally, to Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Holy shit.
I knew it was going to be big when they finally started putting the original cast members in the trailer. Just the little clips that we got were huge. There's only one huge reveal of the Han Solo, as everybody probably knows at this point.
Oh, yeah.
But you had just the glimpse of Luke's arm. Had a little George Lucas moment there. Luke's arm and I guess Leia's hand, possibly.
Oh, yeah.
Handing off the lightsaber. But.
Yeah, it's finally, it's good to be excited about something Star Wars because we got hit with such 3 crap movies in a row several years ago that.
Say what you want about them, but Disney has resurrected that franchise. They have made all the right moves so far. They're going to make $1 billion between all of the merchandising. Star Wars is getting ready to unseat superheroes as the top box office draw. With all these tie-in movies and things coming out, it's going to be Star Wars mania again. And if you remember what the hype was like for Episode 1, and it was insane. And then it died off because it was a bit of a disappointment, and none of the other 3 prequels really reached that level of excitement, in my opinion. Like nobody was camping out for Attack of the Clones.
Oh, Lord, no.
And they certainly weren't for Revenge of the Sith.
No.
But I think you're going to see that with Episode 7. I think the full-on Star Wars mania is back bigger than ever.
Definitely excited about it. Hell, I might be one of those people standing in line in a friggin' costume again. For a good movie this time.
That's right. We all 3 attended. That's a fucking great historical fucking fact. Whoa. We all 3 attended the Episode 1 premiere back
two of us in costume?
In 1999. I did not attend in a costume. That was my pre-cosplaying days. I was a little too cool for that at that point. But I would later learn I was not really, I wasn't. Yeah. And I love cosplaying now, actually. We have a good time when we go to cons. But we all 3 went to Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace premiere. We skipped field day. We skipped school to go see the fucking Phantom Menace. And we loved it at the time. Like the excitement level we had, I mean, it could have been fucking two turds in like CGI'd with lightsabers going pew, 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 and fucking we would have been all over it because the excitement level was so high. We watched it multiple times, and it wasn't like until way after the fact that it really sunk into how shitty that movie was.
Yeah, then you're ashamed. It's like, I don't want to admit I liked it at the time.
At the time, it was just we were carrying through on that wave of fandom. It was just like, fuck yeah.
It's back!
But now it looks like we've got one that actually works that kind of hype, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when Han and Chewie comes on the screen, I mean, when Han and Chewie appear, like, man tears right away. Like, elation. Ready. Total elation.
I thought I was ready for it, but I was like, oh my God. Somebody hold me.
I might have peed a little, I'm not going to lie.
And we'll just go ahead and touch on this, too, because it's also a news item down the line. As part of this franchise, we've got, of course, the animated series Star Wars Rebels, which has been amazing. The first season was killer. They revealed Vader in the season finale with James Earl Jones voicing him. Oh, nice. And then they're coming back with a season 2 where he's going to be, like, all over it. It's been amazing so far. Wonderful follow-up to the Clone Wars. Yeah. And then, of course, the Marvel Comics. We're going to talk about a lot of those today. They're selling out like hotcakes, like they were fucking crack at a fucking crackhead convention. Just selling out so much business. And so we got that. And we have all these tie-in movies that they've announced as well. So they've just announced today at Star Wars Celebration, the big Star Wars con, that Star Wars Rogue One officially will be the next movie that's kind of been unofficially announced. This was the official announcement. They played a trailer with sound bites from Alec Guinness from the first Star Wars movie. And it's going to be a war film about the Rebel Squadron that obtained the Death Star plans that we only heard Mon Mothra and others speak about in the movie. So, looks like it's going to be fucking great.
There's something out there for everybody. It's just cool that there's movies that are not just in the main series. You can have stuff like that now.
Yeah. Disney is taking this.
Is obviously out there. Yeah.
Star Wars Battlefront 3 is coming out too. You know, the game that everyone loved. It seems like Disney has just taken the reins and said, "Oh, what were everybody bitching about? What did you miss from Star Wars? What did you love? Because we will take your money. We'll take it all." And they give what we want, and we'll give them the money. You know, it's as simple as that.
Second mortgage on my house to go see all this crap. Probably.
It's going to be a heavy theater year this year and next, both in particular.
Oh yeah.
So I guess we'll move on from Star Wars. There, the 7 minutes we spent talking about that.
It's worth that 7 minutes.
It's the big one.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know. We also saw the Batman vs Superman trailer, which I don't know. I'm super pleased with it. I can't wait to see it. I think some people were giving it crap, but
give me cold chills.
It's going to be great.
There's been a lot of criticism for I don't exactly understand it because I mean, as a fan of the Frank Miller Batman, it doesn't register like why people would hate it. I know there's a lot of Frank Miller haters out there, and it's not going to be completely his Batman, but it's kind of based on his Batman. I think that rubs some people the wrong way, but the trailer looks pretty solid.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're going to get my money at the theater for it, that's for sure.
I think one thing that movie's going to do is it's going to dispel a lot of the hate for Man of Steel because it's, as I said all along, back on this very program, that Man of Steel, a lot of things that happen there, you are seeing a new Superman origin. Right. So you're seeing him fail in many aspects because he's got to learn those lessons. And people were like, that's not the Superman I like. That's not my Superman. Yeah. Oh, because he just was fucking not infallible. You know, no. A good character has to have faults. Yep. And you have to... And how difficult for a writer to write a character like Superman to try to exploit a legitimate flaw that you can use in the storytelling. Absolutely. You know, it's like he's so invincible and powerful. Yeah. Like that's often a trope that comic writers complain about having to write Superman because he's difficult to make vulnerable.
Well, and everybody, you know, they have their Superman and their opinions on it. I mean, I don't know why people... I never understood the hate for Man of Steel because I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
It seems like people are unwilling to move off of what they consider certain characters to be, and if it deviates from that, they just, oh, that's not my Superman. I'm hands off of that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess as a fanboy, I've got other titles where I'm like, don't you screw with that, but I thought it was good, and I think I'm excited to see the, plays Superman and Man of Steel.
Henry Cavill.
Thank you. I'm excited that he's coming back because I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, he did.
I
I can't remember his name.
He's to me, and I also said this on this very show, but he looks like Superman. He's one of the only Christopher Reeves is fucking amazing. Like, I mean, iconic role can never be touched.
Yeah.
But he was a pretty skinny guy in comparison to Superman. You know, Henry Cavill is fucking jacked. He looks like Superman. He's big. You know,
especially lifting that Russian rocket off.
Oh. God.
There's so many things from that trailer that are just Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
And it's just, that was one of them. It's like, I saw a review of it, and it was like, they didn't really understand that. And that could be the missile strike that weakens Superman significantly before he shows up in Gotham City.
Right. And
it's just like, I don't get the hate for it. It's really bothered me for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, like pretty much the official Getchyapulls stance. We don't often take this. We like to be objective and say everybody can love what you want, and certainly love what you want. But man, fuck you if you didn't like that trailer. Fucking suck my balls. If you like fucking people are bitching because Batman was in a mechanical suit.
Yeah.
Let's see. I can name about 5 stories right now where he wore a fucking mechanical suit that aren't Dark Knight Returns.
Right.
Most recently, the Court of Owls, actually.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that was good. Oh, and don't forget the Batman 66 too, with the original cast on there.
Yes, for those fans of the lighter Batman who hate. That's why I say fuck you. Not because you don't like it, because there's room for all Batmans.
Exactly. Yeah, there's so many different ways to interpret the character. Let him do it.
So you got Adam West, Burt Ward, and recently announced Julie Newmar coming back for this animated feature. And you have the lighter Batman, and they get to bring it back right there without the shackles of time and age affecting West and Ward. I went and saw a Q&A with West and Ward at DragonCon a couple of years ago. I sat in the second row. I was like 10 feet from those guys. They are still as sharp and fucking brilliant and hilarious as you ever would have thought. They have such a chemistry and a rapport with each other. It's going to be fucking amazing. If you love Batman 66, it's going to be fucking amazing.
Looking forward to that for sure. I mean, well, that always takes you, I remember watching it as a kid, being syndicated or whatever, and that was like my first experience.
Yeah. It didn't even dawn on us at the time that it was all campy and hokey or whatever. It was just like, hey, there's fucking Batman.
Dude, awesome. I can remember 5 and 6 years old, the syndicated reruns would come on and we watch it and we would fucking get towels. Me and my cousins and fucking drive around, and we would fight in the living room, and you would have to yell "bap" or "pow" or "zip."
And those towels were the perfect short cape, the classic short cape.
Well, it depends on how big you were,
Those fighting moves were pretty hilarious. Going back and watching, because it comes on TV now. You got the Blu-rays that are out.
Yeah, they're releasing.
But man, it's just they do the silly little pratfalls. You see them getting on a table and kicking their legs out, and he still kicks the bad guy's ass.
The Batusi in the first episode every time fucking just slays me. Get into the Batusi.
Oh my god, that's great.
Oh my god.
Oh, you can't get over that. Let's see. Oh, I don't know if we should talk about it or not being a spoiler, but there was the Bat spoiler for the... maybe we should just mention there was a spoiler.
We'll drop it. Here's what we'll do, fans. If you don't want to know, if you're reading Scott Snyder's Batman, because it's broken all over the internet, if you've been fortunate enough to avoid it, I praise you because I'm not so lucky. Unfortunately, being the purveyor of a podcast network, I have to keep up with news related to the topics I discuss on my podcast. So when you follow any comic-related news website, they have no tact or couth for spoilers at all. They could at least say, "Oh, spoiler after the link."
No, that's better than
give you some warning.
Warn you a little bit.
They don't even do that, so we're going to give you that courtesy at least. Yeah. But you stop right here and fast forward probably about a minute or two. But yeah, the Scott Snyder Batman in the mechanical suit coming back, another mechanical suit, by the way, is going to be James Gordon.
Yes,
that is appropriate. I think that's a good pick. I'd heard about it about 5 minutes before we did the start of the cast here, and I was pretty pleased.
Whenever you see a gun in the character's hand, you know it's no longer Bruce Wayne. For the most part, unless Frank Miller's from.
Well, I mean, we expect that from Frank Miller.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to see how that works out as well.
Could be interesting. I'm open to it because, like, I trust the writer. You know, people bitch and complain. My God, people online these days, and you hate bitching about that because you like the internet, quote unquote, takes a bad rap.
Yeah.
We're part of the internet here on the podcast, but the vocal minority of fan. We're all pretty much on the internet now, so you can't even call it the internet, but we'll just call it the vocal minority of comic fan. Is just seemingly not happy with anything, and they love to jump to conclusions, and they love to take things out of context. It's like, okay, out of context, that's a pretty wacky move.
Yeah, okay.
Like, where's Bruce? That's the big question on everybody's mind. Like, what the fuck? I mean, is he crippled? Are we going to Batman Beyond territory now, or what? But, that's certainly going to be something interesting. But I trust Scott Snyder. He has delivered golden material on that entire run. Greg Capullo has delivered golden material on that entire run. I completely trust them to do right by the character, by Gotham, by Batman, by the universe. They'll do it.
Yeah.
So it's a common thing to take the main character out of the action for a little while, either by getting them killed, their back broken, or zapped by the Omega beams, whatever. But it's good to have a relief from that, so you can bring them back and get everybody jazzed about it.
Yeah, it's almost a necessary evil when you're running these characters. Like Batman, this was 75th anniversary of Batman in 2014. So, it's 75 years of a character. You got to do things like that to keep it fresh.
Absolutely. Let's see. Oh, I guess we've talked about Batman for like 20 minutes. It feels like. We also have some other we got some other trailers that came out. Me personally, I just watched the Ant-Man trailer before we came over, and I think it's looking pretty good. It's got
Paul. That's one I've blanked on.
Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, and I think I've been reading the new run here lately, and I think he's going to pull it off. I've been enjoying it. I think it looks pretty good.
I hope so. I mean, they're obviously going to take in a more comedic tone than most of the other Marvel movies, and that's cool.
Well, that's kind of refreshing. I mean, because the trend nowadays is to make everything as dark and.
Well, I mean, Marvel's pretty much known for I'd have to say, Daredevil, what you're going to talk about in a minute, was certainly a departure for them. Typically, their fare is pretty light. I mean, Age of Ultron looks to be pretty heavy, coming up. But most of the Marvel fare is pretty light. And I think Paul Rudd has proven he's got some serious chops when necessary. I don't know if everybody's seen This Is 40, but I thought that was a great fucking movie. And it really, he has to have a lot of range in that movie because it's a comedy, but it's one of those Judd Apatow, adult comedies about married life and the pressures of it. And, there's a lot of really intense, fucking fighting and shit in that movie, and he really pulls it off.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy that, we were talking about earlier. He can be in a movie that sucks something terrible, and he still does a good job.
Yeah, he's still great to watch. He's always funny.
So, yeah, I think that's, I'm excited about that, personally. And then, of course, you mentioned we got Age of Ultron coming up. On the 1st, I think it's released, May 1st?
Yes, May 1st. So, the day I'll be on my way back from Orlando, so I'm going to be cutting it close, making a Friday night showing of that. But if not, I'll be I'll be hitting it on Saturday for sure, if not.
Let the young sleep in the car. That'll be fine. They sleep in the car all the time. There's no problem. I'll go watch it. And then there's, of course, too, the Fantastic Four trailer. Saw that. I completely forgot about it. And it's got several people in it that I've never really seen before, so we'll see how that reboots. It's definitely
got the least heat behind it, but it looks like they're going to do something interesting.
Sometimes movies like that will kind of come out of nowhere and blow you away. So we'll see about that one, too.
My thoughts on the Fantastic Four trailer have been, just the whole reboot of the Fantastic Four. It really sucks that Marvel doesn't have that franchise because they're so integral to the Marvel universe.
They used to be huge players in the Marvel universe. It seems like they're just in the backseat now.
They've intentionally been put in the backseat. I don't know if you've heard about all the crap. Well, the guy, Ike Perlmutter, who's in charge of, the CEO of Disney now, because of the relationship with Fox, that's why they killed Deadpool recently. They are kind of taking the steam off of any of the characters that they own, which is kind of dumb to me because they're like, oh, we don't want to advertise their movies, but it's like the movies reach such a broader audience than the comics. Yeah. So really, the movies are advertising for the comics, not vice versa.
Oh, totally, yeah.
And so that's kind of an asinine statement to make in the first place. But
it makes the comic universe.
Then all the announcements about the movie, like the actors and the director have been really pretentious sounding in the fucking press about it. They're like, well, it's not your typical superhero fare. This is going to be something different. It's like when Marvel's just having such resounding success on all levels, you just kind of sound like an asshole saying that, you know.
Well, the first Fantastic Four trailer, it didn't look like a superhero movie. It looked like Interstellar, or some other random generic space movie, and it's like really tried to hide that this is a superhero movie until maybe the last shot, and it's like, is that the thing?
Well, the second trailer came out today, and it left me much more optimistic than the press and other things did. I'll definitely go see. I was like even borderline if I was even going to see it in the theater. Like the trailer was going to be the deciding factor on that. And that, like, I went to see Ghost Rider, both Ghost Rider movies in the theater.
You are dedicated, sir.
So, you know, if it's comic related in the movies, I want to see it because it's the best experience. You know, you get to really feel the booms and the impact and the fights and everything. But you know, I thought the Thing looked good. I thought the rest of the four looked good. I thought Dr. Doom still looked like shit.
Yeah, still hasn't improved.
Like
a shit pile in a cake.
I hate that they've not, like, he's one of the greatest characters ever, and maybe they'll surprise me despite the look. I certainly, like, aesthetics aren't everything. If he's great in the role, then maybe he'll change my mind. But damn it, man, I just don't. I like he's one of the greatest characters of all time, and they've never done him justice on film.
Nobody has.
5 villains of all time.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you know, that one's going to be, I think, hit or. I mean, it looks like it's going to be good, but I think it's going to be kind of hit or miss because of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you know, we'll just have to see what happens there. We need to talk about number one. These guys, I haven't seen it yet. We're talking about it earlier. Daredevil. I have not.
Shit, Daredevil.
Holy fucking shit!
I don't even know where to start with how good it is.
like the trailers don't do it justice. I mean, and Marvel promised all this stuff, and I didn't believe it because I don't buy hype much. You know,
they're always going to say this is the best ever.
And it's going to be so dark, and they were like, well, the Winter Soldier is going to, and the Winter Soldier was pretty dark. Yeah. You know, it was a darker movie, but it still had its lighthearted Marvel fare. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, like, they were really pushing how gritty and, like, this was going to be something different, that it was going to be tied into the main Marvel universe. And it is. Tons of references to Avengers and other things that you've already seen in film in the show. But it's all done so cleverly and so creatively. And it's the acting it's next level. It's
all the acting is just top-notch. The fight scenes have been, like, head and shoulders better than any other fight scene you've seen on TV, even in movies.
And like as amazing as Arrow is, it's one of my favorite shows. And I even say this because it sounds like I'm shitting on it. I'm not. But Daredevil wiped its ass with Arrow in terms of like doing what Arrow does well, and it's awesomely done. And they somehow did it better.
I was afraid that the two shows would be too similar because it's a street level character that's gritty, dark. Taking back the streets kind of stuff, but it went in a different direction, and I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out now. Because I knew it was coming up, and I thought, Daredevil's a character. So.
Charlie Cox is Matt Murdock. The guy that plays Foggy is Foggy.
Oh, yeah.
Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin. Instantly one of the greatest villain portrayals of all time.
And he's scary. Like, you never know what he's going to do. He looks
God, yeah. He's fucking... I mean, and like, he hardly ever raises his voice. Or, he always speaks to people very calmly. And, like, right before he's going to kill somebody, he always explains to them the why and like, in great detail, And
you can always kind of tell when he's starting to get a little upset.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's he going to do?
Yeah.
And then he backs down from it most of the time.
But like 5 stars. Like nobody expected it. I would put it on the level of The Wire. Any of those great shows that are dominating premium television now.
So that's definitely I'm gonna have to check it out. Well, I guess. And speaking of shows, we've also got the recent Flash episode to talk about. What did you guys think about that? Well, I loved it.
Fuck it. I mean, The Flash is another one of those things. And that's the great thing about being alive in 2015. You have all this. You have Daredevil and Arrow who does the dark and gritty so well. And then you have the Flash taking place in the same universe as Arrow, but presenting that Sam Raimi Spider-Man, Richard Donner Superman, lighthearted, a guy who totally enjoys being a hero.
Yeah.
And there are dark elements to it, but it's such a fun show, and it's like just the heroics in the Flash. He defines being a hero better than any other superhero on television because his power is so defensive, and he uses it so often to save people.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, it was great. And what do we have? How many more episodes do we have for this season? I can't remember. I think it's just a couple.
2 or 3 at the most.
So it's building up to that.
Yeah. Arrow and the Flash are both on the outs as far as ending the season.
The introduction of the Atom in the Flash.
I've loved him.
I was because what Brandon Routh.
Yes, the much maligned Superman.
Yeah, it was.
So I saw that he was going to be in the episode, and I thought, okay, well, let's see where it goes. But I actually thought he did a good job. Personally, I thought it was good. I was excited about it, and of course, we've got the big build up to the Reverse Flash. Now everybody pretty much knows what the deal is with that. So it's got to be coming up to
reversal.
Well, we finally got the reveal that the Reverse Flash was who we thought he was as longtime comic fans, but they did a really creative way of introducing it.
Yeah.
And you have all these other characters on the show who clearly, they're superheroes in DC. Yeah. Like, they didn't put them there for no reason. Yeah. Cisco Ramon, one of the great characters on the show. He's the guy that names all the superheroes and the villains. I love it because that's how they explain some of the sillier names. It's like he comes up with it, and so that's what the Flash calls him, and it makes sense. But he's Vibe in the comics. He goes on to become Vibe. Okay. Caitlin Snow is the female, played by Danielle Panabaker, who does a great job also in that role. She goes on to become Killer Frost in the comics. So you have all of this shit, and that's so tied into Firestorm, and they've already introduced. It's been fucking amazing. They're just firing on all cylinders. It's a great time to be alive as a fan. Heard Constantine is on the chopping block.
Yeah. Maybe Sci-Fi Channel or something will pick it up. I don't know.
That was the rumor for a while, but
I enjoyed it. I didn't think they did as much as they could with it, but I thought that the casting was well, and I was a little disappointed that it wasn't coming back.
I hate that they didn't let him smoke that. To me, it's a minor thing, but it neuters the character so much.
They didn't go as far with it, I think, and maybe it was just because of the network. I don't know.
They went pretty far, they treaded Hannibal territory with that show, which is a pretty gruesome show.
Yeah.
And it was good, and I hope it continues. It's one of those that's in an era where everything else is so good, you just gotta be fucking amazing, and it's really good, but I wouldn't call it amazing, and I think that might be what some of the problem is, and they maybe should have tried it on Sci-Fi in the first place, honestly.
I think that would have been better. I really do. Stood out a little more. Because it definitely seems like, and I think it may have been just because of the network and all that.
Because you put it on Sci-Fi, it's the best thing on the network.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, they kind of messed up on where they introduced that. So, I don't know, we'll see. I hate to hear it, because I was following it, I enjoyed it. But.
Let's see, what just quick other TV news. Walking Dead just wrapped up. You
were talking about iZombie.
While we're talking about CW, I just wanted to briefly touch on some of this other stuff, but iZombie I never read the comic. No offense to the creators of the comic. The premise just did not interest me. A comedic zombie book. I've always hated any attempt to try to deviate on the zombie genre because it always comes off as so uninspired and kitschy and stupid. I may actually have to read the comic after watching the show because it's fucking amazing. I fell in love with it from the first episode. Totally unexpectedly, it was just like, okay, well, I watched The Flash, and now I don't have anything else to watch. Let's see what the fuck this is about. It's so fucking charming, and so funny, and so delightful, and it's so weird, it's just something totally unique. Highest recommendation possible.
Yeah, really. I was definitely surprised that when when Dan here was telling me about it, because I saw it coming on, I was like, all right, I'm flipping the channel.
Yeah,
I got crap to do, but now I'm kind of got my interest peaked a little bit.
I was waiting to hear more about it, too.
Tell you what really, right from the first, they did the opening scene, with her and fucking on the boat and finding out she's a zombie and all this shit. And then they hit the theme, the intro. Yeah. And the intro is like, it's some obscure metal band, like, it's Dax Riggs, the former frontman of Acid Bath's new band, Dead Boy and the Elephant Men. The song called Stop, I'm Already Dead. And I love that fucking song anyway. So I heard that, I was like, man, they picked some awesome fucking music for this off the bat. I might have to take this a little more seriously.
It's like they were trying to get just you to watch it.
Yeah, well, they did, because my newest crush is the lovely Rose McIver as Liv Moore, the zombie character. I love that name. She's a zombie, and her name is Liv Moore.
If I heard that coming from the mouth of anybody else, I'd be like, "Oh, you're kidding me!" But I don't know. You've never led me astray so far, so we'll have to see what happens there. But let's see. I guess probably the last news topic we have. I don't know much about it, but apparently there's a rumored third Marvel series coming for ABC.
Yep. The word on that is that it's penned by a fairly famous director whose name is escaping me, but people were buzzing on the internet about it, and a lot of people internally on the rumor mill are saying it's going to be Kamala Khan, the new Miss Marvel, who of course is one of the most popular books Marvel has right now. So very interesting, and that's not even including the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spinoff that is coming as well, and I have no idea. Nobody knows what that is. So it's like, man, there's so much in the works. You're worried that the bubble's going to pop, but I think Star Wars is going to save that, because I think Star Wars is going to come take the heat off the comic shit from having to carry the weight. People will just enjoy the comic stuff because it's good and it's there, as opposed to it being everything that you see.
Absolutely. Let's see. I think that covers covers everything for news. Are we going to want to try to kick it to Muji right now?
Yes. We'll go to the Great Muji, standing by for his news, his thoughts on the news, everything we've discussed, and then also he'll give you a quick rundown of his polls and pick of the week, and then we'll be back right here on Getchyapulls. Now to the Muj.
Yo, so figured it was a good week to skip the podcast. Not any real news this week. I mean, what can I even talk about? It was trailer Armageddon. As in, the end of trailers, I should just never show one ever again, because Star Wars just kicked the shit out of all other trailers that have ever come out. Obviously, I'm sure you guys talked about it a ton. Star Wars looks awesome. If I could be more pumped than I was a couple weeks ago, I am now. I'm all in on episode 7, and if it's not awesome, it's going to be really sad. I might cry, and I might cry if it is awesome. A Batman vs. Superman trailer, I mean, it was a true teaser. I think a lot of people were disappointed because Star Wars came out earlier that day, and it was awesome. And then we got this crappy, grainy version of the Batman Superman trailer, and then when they released the real one, it was an actual, teaser trailer. It did what old school teasers did. It showed you some images, didn't give you a big portion of the story or anything like that. So, not a big deal there. Still really excited for Batman Superman. I'm still more excited for it than basically any other superhero movie. Speaking of superhero stuff, I just finished episode 9 of Daredevil, and it's really, really awesome so far. I think they did a great job of casting it. Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, is great in it. Also, spot on Foggy Nelson. Daredevil, pretty good. I mean, once or twice an episode, you do get Scottish or Irish Daredevil or something. Like, he obviously from like the Isle is that actor, because that slips in a whole bunch. And his dad has no accent at all, so that's a little weird in the flashbacks, but it's okay. I can overlook that for an otherwise really awesome show. Definitely the dark, gritty version of Daredevil that, starting with Frank Miller and then all the way through Bendis and Brubaker that it's famous for. So really like that. Also, shout out to Dom from Entourage, being Kingpin's dad. That was cool. What else have I been watching? Oh yeah, watch the Batman versus Robin DC animated cartoon. Pretty great. They infused the Batman and Son by a lot of that from Morrison with the Court of Owls storyline and told a pretty cool story. So liked it a bunch. Comics wise, news, I guess I'm recording a couple days after you guys, so they just announced Iceman's gay. Yawn. It's Bendis, so I'm sure it'll be a really good story. I'll probably end up reading it and liking it, but dude, come on, Marvel. Like, can we please, when you represent minorities or people of other sexual orientation, can you create a new character? I mean, it just seems like it's the simple thing is to take the iconic character or the iconic mantle and put somebody else in it. I mean, I can't create a real awesome superhero character, so it's not like it's easy. But, people thought that in the 90s, and then that's when Deadpool and Cable and Harley Quinn came from. So it's possible to create somebody new and awesome and instead of just having to reuse the same old tricks that comics have been using forever to, try to show you diversity. They just take an existing character, existing, costume and put somebody else in it. And it feels the same way with Iceman. It's just, I almost feel like they tried with North Star and nobody cared. So now they're going to do it with Iceman, and he's a more popular character. And, like I said, I hope the story is awesome. I think it's fine. I don't care if you make all the X-Men gay if you want to, as long as the story is good. But I just think that at this point that it's getting tired and that it's just the most predictable thing is you take an existing character and change them instead of just being more creative and coming up with new characters. But whatever. And then let's see what else is going on. I think that's it for news stuff. I'm talking about pulls for the week. I'll just be brief on that. I couldn't help myself. Instead of borrowing the Batman Eternal final issue, I just had to buy it because I just really wanted to read it. And it was epic and awesome. And it's like the perfect end to like a movie. Like the last few pages, the last few lines that are spoken in it, Gordon on the final page. Just all beautiful, beautiful work. Crazy. I mean, it had, I would say not really its downs. It went from being like really great to, a couple stale issues, but not very many. Over 52 issues with so many different people. So that was great. My personal pick of the week, comics wise, was The Fade Outs by Brubaker and Sean Phillips. This story just keeps getting better every single week. If you haven't read this, then read it. If you haven't read Brubaker and Phillips, then Image is releasing all the Criminal trade paperbacks right now, and you can get those on the cheap and read those, and they're awesome, and that's a great introduction to them. One of comics' modern best teams. And then finally, the thing that I like the most that I read in the last couple weeks, I've read a lot of trade paperbacks and hardcovers and whatnot, but the thing that meant the most to me was Wonder Woman Volume 6, Bones by Brian Azzarello, Cliff Chang, also some art. Credit on the front of Gordon Saduka and Matt Wilson, so throw them in since they are on the book. But epic run that's been going on since the beginning of the New 52 story finally came to a conclusion, and it was just as good as the rest of them, and it's a great from beginning to end story. If you haven't read it, then I would definitely implore you to go out and get those 6 volumes of Wonder Woman. Probably the best written Wonder Woman, at least that I've ever read, so highest recommendation. But that is it for me, so kick it back over to Dan and Todd and Jeremy. Tell us about your polls.
Thanks, Muji, and we're back here on Getchyapulls. Here back to the main broadcast for the simulcast of the program.
I gotta say, I agree with Muji, everything he said.
Absolutely. He is the founder of the feast here, so if we don't agree with him, he might fire us. But,
I'm a new guy. I have to agree. It doesn't matter.
So, Getchyapulls intern, Jeremy Stewart.
Unpaid internship, I might add.
Watching the shop while the boss is away. I don't think we ever hammered out our order of reviews, but Todd, you can go first if you want
to. I usually follow the Muji. Got a few. I'll try to nail this down here. My first pick was All New X-Men number 37, which was published out of fucking order.
Weird.
For whatever reason.
What?
Yeah, well, I think it was a timing thing with the Black Vortex. Number 38 came out. And then number 37 came out like a couple weeks later just to fill some time, and it doesn't have anything to do with the story. But it is way better than anything that's going on in that piece of shit storyline. There's filling, The fill-in artist Mike Del Mundo is incredible. He has a digital painting kind of style, and he has the expressive faces that this whole book is kind of known for. Every artist that has worked on this book that's where they've really shined, I think. So he continues that tradition, and it has an awesome battle between the all-new Jean Grey and the Blob, which you never really see. So she gets a little training exercise with Emma Frost as her guide in Madripoor. Of all places, she took him to the den of iniquity.
Madripoor.
That's Wolverine's old stomping grounds there.
Patch, buddy, patch.
They were looking for a place that just had scum and villainy, and they found it.
It might as well be Moss Eisley's place.
Next up is Spider-Gwen, number 2 and 3. This series is really still good. I wasn't sure about it at first, so I'm still continuing with this. Spider-Ham has shown up as her Jiminy Cricket. She kind of goes to him for advice. He's like an imaginary friend and a spirit guide, kind of. When she's on the ropes, he's there to pull her back up. We also see an alternate Matt Murdock, who is Wilson Fisk's lawyer and enforcer, and which is pretty awesome. I mean, knowing how Daredevil is about things.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of refreshing to see that. And we've also found out in issue 3 that her neighbor is a still living Ben Parker. So it's cool. He's been making the rounds lately. He's usually stayed off into flashback sequences. But we had him in Spider-Verse, and now he makes another appearance here. It's kind of neat to see him again.
The cardinal rule's broken.
Yeah, it really is.
Don't bring back Bucky, don't bring back Uncle Ben. They never have in main continuity, but...
Well, apparently it's okay to do it with Ben if he's in an alternate universe. And I don't know, maybe she'll come in with Secret Wars, because they're kind of trying to bring in all these alternate universes. Maybe she'll survive the X, or stay in her own book, in her own universe, just keep her off to the side. I don't know. On to Image, we have Mark Miller and Sean Murphy's Chrononauts, which has been pretty awesome. And it's a unique time travel story, and there's a lot of fucking time travel stories out there. Like, you got your Outlanders, got all these comics, Star Trek doing time travel series, but it managed to stand out by being about just two bros that want to have fun with time travel. This guy is a scientist, and he leaves his boring, lonely life behind just to hang out with his bro and have power, wealth, and lots of ladies across all of time. He even has like a scoreboard of like ladies in different times he's scored with, and one of them was Betty White. It was just, it had likes and dislikes. Then we got Nameless, number 3, by Grant Morrison and Chris Burnham. And the first couple of issues have pretty much just been Armageddon, if it was good, and about weird occult stuff and disturbing gore. So,
Interesting.
Yeah. It fixes all the bad stuff about that movie. And in this issue number 3, things go tits up, and the hero ends up back on Earth with his mission already failed. So you never know what kind of turn that book is going to take from one moment to the next. Another Mark Miller book is Jupiter's Circle, number 1, which is the prequel series to the long overdue issues of Jupiter's Legacy that I really enjoyed. I was kind of disappointed the art style is not anywhere like even Frank Quitely's. I mean, maybe that's what they were going for, but he's still doing the covers, so that's kind of nice to have that connection. The best way I can describe it is kind of Watchmen versus Mad Men, with a lot of man-on-man action. So if you're into that kind of thing, then this is a book for you. I enjoyed it. Another indie book, IDW's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Number 44, yeah, this was a big shocker issue. Of course, the spoilers have been out about this for a while. But just a quick rundown. The other 3 turtles, Leo, Mikey, and Raph. They kick Crane's ass and run his plans into the ground while Shredder's distracted with Crane's army. And now Shredder had a contingency plan. He left Bebop and Rocksteady waiting at the portal with Donatello. In case he was betrayed, he said, kill Donatello. And guess what? They fucking did. Following, at the very end of this issue, is a brutal beatdown by the two against Donatello and Metalhead, the robotic Ninja Turtle. And it ends in Rocksteady just pummeling Donatello in the back with his sledgehammer, and there's a big loud crack, and he just busts his shell open, kills him. It had a really good, touching last panel with Splinter holding him like in his arms, and he says, "My poor brave son." And it's just, I was ready to kind of give up on this book. It's been okay, but like I wasn't sure if I would still have that nostalgic feeling after a few issues. But this one completely blew everything else out of the water that the week it came out, and I was just like floored. And maybe it's just kind of a quick grab to make it darker and more like the classic Ninja Turtle comics, but it was very effective on me, so I'm going to keep up.
I've heard a lot about that. That's been in the headlines a lot lately, that Donatello's recent passing. And I mean, it's good for the book to take it in a different direction, because the Turtles are a big property right now. It's going to get people talking, like most comic deaths. I'm sure it'll be temporary, but at the meantime, it's something that they've never done in the Turtles book.
Not ever, as far as I can remember or have been told. But yeah, it was a huge shocker. And
brave move.
Yeah, if you can still find this issue, definitely pick it up. If you have any inclination towards the Ninja Turtles, this is a good book for you. Finishing off with my pull of the week, or month and some change, is from DC, the Multiversity, which is, I guess, losing some steam due to Convergence, which is kind of a similar multiverse story, but it's still doing its own thing. Here we have Ultra Comics, the supposed cursed issue, by Grant Morrison and Doug Mankey? Is that how you say that? Okay, yeah. And it's awesome. The one thing about this, beforehand, or after reading it, I saw some criticism from more than one place that it was somehow too Morrison-y, or whoever was reading this, i.e. too trippy, weird, and confusing. And if you're saying that, like, then why are you reading a Grant Morrison book?
Right.
He has, like, this huge career of books like that. And if you don't like that kind of stuff, maybe you shouldn't try to read that.
That's pretty much his MO.
The basic rundown of this book is Ultra of Earth Prime, who looks a lot like Miracle Man. He's kind of a composite, kind of a maybe Superboy from Earth Prime / Superman, Miracle Man, stuff like that. But the issue involves the reader as an active participant in the developing storyline. And Ultra Comics, his whole deal is he's powered by the Ultra Gem, which harnesses the collective imagination of all readers throughout time, of whoever reads this issue. And it's a really unique premise. I mean, he's written stuff like that before. Maybe that steps on some people's toes. I really dug it, and this is the penultimate issue of Multiversity. So the next one wraps it up, but it's been 5 stars across the board, every issue.
Outstanding. Well, I had a nice stack. Still loving Darth Vader by Marvel. Issues 3 and 4 both made my highlight list. We meet the droid archaeologist, Dr. Aphra, who is a loyal servant of the Empire. She has her own version of R2 and 3PO, who are evil, and they're highly entertaining. The three, I can't remember their names, but the 3PO is a human cyborg relations protocol droid, but he's also a master interrogator and torture artist.
Oh my god!
And the little R2 is a murdering machine. So it's quite a unique spin on that. Vader recruits them to help him go back to Genosha to prepare his own plans for what the Emperor might have in store for him, because he knows that the Emperor is planning to betray him. So lots of interesting twists and turns in that one. And continues. Kieran Gillen doing a great job on the writing. Salvador Larroca as the artist. Magnificent stuff. Magnificent stuff. Moving on to Sons of Anarchy, number 19 and 20. We meet a new character in these. The nephew of one Bobby Munson. This takes place after the death of Opie and before the end of the series, obviously, but it's not real clear where in the timeline. It's in one of the seasons where Bobby is in the penitentiary. That's a great thing about the comic. They just pick random plots in the timeline of the show, and they tell you stories that you didn't see, like that happened mainly in between seasons. Yeah. And so, in this case, of course, he's a little fucking entitled brat who's a little hot shit. They take him on as a prospect. they go to this party with the Mexicans, with the Mayan biker gang, who's one of their rivals, but also business associates. Like they try to keep things peaceful with them because they deal in drug trade and other things together. And of course, this kid goes and fucking steals a bunch of the Mayans' dope and money and pisses off the Sons. And then the two issues are basically a manhunt for him and his retribution on the club. And I have a feeling that little bastard's going to get skinned alive before it's all said and done because he's done pissed off the wrong motherfuckers. And then moving on to The Walking Dead, still kicking ass. The TV show just wrapped its latest season, which is fantastic. And the book's not real far away from where they are in the show. We're about 3-4 major events away, but far enough that I don't think they're ever going to be in danger of catching up like Game of Thrones. But especially with Walking Dead, they had the option to do. They did a time jump in the comic that was like at least 2 years, maybe more. But in these two issues, you find out what happened to Michonne, one of the biggest mysteries since the time jump. Was she dead? What happened? She's actually taken the sea trade over. And so what she's doing now is she's manning a fleet of ships that go out and get fish and other things to trade with the other communities. Apparently there was a major falling out with her and Ezekiel. They don't go into much detail. I imagine we'll find out more about this. But she doesn't want to live back at the community with Rick. She stays on the sea with her team and essentially lives on a boat. And then, of course, the whole thing with the Whisperers and Carl getting him some pussy.
He's a man.
And following after the girl when she was exiled from the community and being abducted by the Whisperers. And now we have to wonder what the fuck is going to happen to Carl. But, pussy make a man do some strange things. So,
we've all been guilty of that.
Poor Carl, not immune. Carl Grimes is not immune, folks. The runner-up for this week, Southern Bastards number 8. I'm not a football fan. I grew up with it as a constant thing in my life. If you live in the South, and I don't hate it. It's just not for me. It's like I don't mind getting together with the guys, drink some beers, and watching a game, but it just doesn't. Like I don't follow it. I can't get it. I did it one time. Yeah. It's not for me. Like comics fills that void so much more than a sport obsession or anything else would. The closest thing I have is wrestling. That's the closest thing to a sport, and it's more comic than sport. So
it counts.
But this book, just like scalped before it, takes these characters. 1 minute you want to root for them, the next minute you want to see them die, and it's a wonderful tale of Shades of Grey. And I don't always like Shades of Grey because they're not it's more true to life, but it's not always the best storytelling device. But like a Sopranos or a great crime story, this unfolds in that manner. And so the Shades of Grey work out very well. The coach, Euless Boss, you find out that he murdered his father. His father was a piece of shit, but this the backstory of how he got the job as coach, which basically makes him God in Crawl County, Alabama. And you start to get an idea of just how much blood is on this man's hands to get to where he got in this issue. And after the second trade is mostly flashback stuff. So this is the end of the second trade paperback. This brings you back up to present time after all the crazy twists and turns. Amazing book. Highest recommendation possible, as always. Get you some Southern Bastards. Jason Aaron and Jason Latour are killing it. Excited to meet them again this year at Heroes Con. I've never met Jason Aaron in person, though we have had him on the show before. I've met Jason Latour in person. My Southern Bastards number 1 is actually signed by him. And this year, Jason Aaron will be at Heroes Con, which me and the Mooj will be attending. And I will get my Southern Bastard number 1 signed by him as well to complete the set. And then finally, my pick of the week. Long time coming, and it deserves the spot. Batman Eternal number 52.
Lucky number 52.
I don't know that Marvel, and there were some great books, and that's not to discount Marvel, but that's just to put over how strong this book was.
Yeah.
I don't know that there was a Marvel monthly book as good as the weekly Batman Eternal.
Oh, wow.
And they hit 52 issues without missing a deadline. Yeah. Sometimes the art wasn't great. I let it slide because I knew what the circumstances they were under, but most of the time it was stellar.
Yep.
Issue 52, the ultimate payoff, and leads you right into what the next thing is going to happen with the Batman universe. And God damn it, I loved it. I loved 51. Was the issue prior to that, and that kind of ties into this because it happened as well before we're back on the air. But we finally get the big reveal to who was behind the whole plot. And as many red herrings throughout this thing. It was Scarecrow. No, it was Two-Face. No, it was the Riddler. No, like it kept being like Batman would find these people and interrogate them, and they'd say, "No, I'm just a part of somebody else." Fuck. So he's chasing them down, and he finally figures it out. It's a villain that's been there the whole time. Yeah. The Clue Master. The father of Stephanie Brown, who has been returned to continuity in Batman Eternal.
Yeah, I know she has some
stuff coming up. As soon as he reveals himself and has Batman where he wanted, a shadowy figure steps out from behind him, spoiler alert, and slits his throat and kills the fucking Clue Master, deader than shit, only to be revealed that the real man behind the whole plan was one Lincoln March, a.k.a. Thomas Wayne Jr., a.k.a. the Talon, paying off the whole original Court of Owls story, fucking tying all of it in together in one brilliant masterpiece, and it made me so fucking happy to be a Batman fan.
It's impressive that they pulled off the rigorous schedule that they set out and had an awesome payoff.
Well, and have the quality too. I mean, it's not easy to. In fact, Batman, that issue is on my list as well as mentioned. I didn't go into it. Discuss it.
Yeah. Any feedback you had on that, feel free to drop it, but those are my thoughts on that one.
Oh, it was great. It was great. I missed a few events in the Batverse, so I didn't catch some of the connections that you did. But now, I've got to go back and check them out. Because
thankfully, you have both volumes of the Court of Owls to go through.
Yeah. I came in a little late on that one, so.
Real quick, that I want to drop before, and it's totally unrelated, but it is related to Batman, and it's related to the Court of Owls. We didn't cover it in the news, and I meant to, because I watched it, and it's fucking awesome. Batman versus Robin, a new DC animated movie that just dropped.
They're really pushing
Batman and Son was the first movie where they introduced Damian, and it was okay. It wasn't bad. Like, the animation was decent. The voice acting, to me, wasn't up to par. They totally fixed this. Kevin Conroy with a cameo as Thomas Wayne. He's not Batman. Jason O'Meara, the Batman from Young Justice, who did a fucking great job, and the animation team from Young Justice, who's doing the Justice League, like New 52 movies, which this kind of ties into. They're doing the movie, and it's the Court of Owls, and it's fucking amazing. It's the Court of Owls adding Damian to the mix, who wasn't around, and changing some of the details, but keeping the theme alive, making it fresh enough that it's like a totally new experience. Highest recommendation possible, and I'll close out my reviews of that.
Awesome. Well, I guess that's on to me here. To close things up. It's been a while, so I've got several mentions here. First one, we have the whole convergence thing going on now. Of course, destroying my bank account.
There's too much stuff out there.
read several different titles from that. Probably the one that stood out that I'll mention was just Convergence Superman. It was great. I would definitely recommend you pick it up. It was probably the best one out of that whole Convergence deal that I've read so far.
All of the tie-ins seem a little bit weaker than the main storyline from what I can tell so far.
Yeah, I got the Aquaman tie-in. I have to say that. Like, I thought that it wasn't bad. I mean, it was kind of a cool premise, but it really throws you right in the middle. And I haven't read any of the main title. I was expecting these to be like independent stories taking place in their own universes, and they do. But they definitely tie into the larger story, like, without a doubt. And if you didn't catch that, then you're kind of lost.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no way to really pin down what's going on without reading issue 0 and 1 beforehand. But, I mean, they were okay. Superman definitely stood out above the other ones I read.
Because I know, I checked out Shadow of the Bat. I think you did too.
Yeah,
it was good. I read Batman and Robin. They were all good books, but out of all of those, I figured the best one out of them was Superman. So I'm going to bring it up and mention it.
Yeah, it has Dan Jurgens, like the classic, one of the classic Superman writers. So he he was great. In the pencils by Lee Weeks were cool. You get to see Superman come back in his original costume, which was kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
Not to completely hate on the new costume, but it's just cool to see him like that again. And him and Lois are going to have a little baby, so it's kind of cool.
Baby time. So that was good. I mentioned that. Dan mentioned Batman Eternal 52. That was on my list of mentions. It almost made my pull of the week, but I think Dan would. I think he did a better job of discussing it than I ever would have. So props on that. Let's see what else I've got here. I've got Star Wars number 3. Dan and Mooj got me kind of interested in the Star Wars titles that have been coming out. So I picked them up and I've been following it, but so far I've been really impressed. The art's been good, but mostly the dialogue. Anytime I read a comic like that, I hear this is kind of based on movie figures, so you kind of have a voice and a face.
You can't help but connect it with Mark Hamill.
No, because that's what it's based off of. I mean, they're drawing Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford, so that's what you're hearing.
Yeah, so I hear the voice, and he really, Jason Aaron, right? Jason Aaron.
Yes.
I think he's done an excellent job of picking up how they should sound. Sometimes writers, they don't necessarily do that very well.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And you can kind of tell that when you read them. You go, I don't know about this, but excellent so far. I'm hooked on it now. Good stuff.
Yeah, I thought he captured Han. That's the most difficult one to me because, Han had the quickest lines and the quickest comebacks and the wittiest banter. And, as a writer, that's a real challenge. And Jason Aaron fucking nailed it, man. Props to you, bro. You killed it.
Absolutely. Then, also in that vein was Darth Vader number 4. I've been following that and have been very pleased so far. It's definitely a title that I'm keeping on my pull list to follow and hope they keep up the good work there. Let's see. And then I've got Witches number 5. It's kind of getting close to the climax of that story arc.
That's the end of the first trade.
Is this the end of the first trade? Okay, that makes sense then. But yeah, I've been enjoying it so far. Definitely check it out.
Man,
it's good.
Next level horror.
Oh yeah,
is what it, like there's such a renaissance of horror comics right now, and in movies. There's been a great bunch of horror movies going on Netflix lately. You should check out, but in the realm of comics, where it's been kind of devoid in recent years, Witches is something totally different.
Oh, absolutely. I like horror in movies and things, but I've never really followed it much in comics, because a lot of them have never really kind of pulled it off, but I think they really do in this book. So, if you're interested, in that kind of thing, check it out. I've been very pleased.
Yeah, you talk about that, and you got Walking Dead, and Revival, and Nailbiter, and there's so many more that I'm not even Hack Slash, which I've not even read, which is super popular. Yeah. There's so much good fucking horror in comics right now. It really is a great time to be a horror fan in comics as well.
And then I guess we'll get to my pick of the week is actually kind of 2 books. I'll mention a little bit from each one, but it's Ant-Man number 3 and number 4. Normally I like the darker books, the real super plot oriented kind of deals. Yeah. I don't really go for the more lighthearted a lot of times. Yeah. But I picked this one up because Todd had mentioned Ant-Man several times, and I knew there was a movie coming out. I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna pick it up. I know I've mentioned it before on here, but just to give you kind of an idea of how they approach the character in this book, in Ant-Man number 3, we have our villain being Taskmaster, which is pretty hard for me to say. But I'm just gonna. There's this one. I'll just do this one little vocal exchange, and I'll kind of sum it up for number 3. But Ant-Man has started his own security company, Ant-Man Security Solutions or something like that. So he's trying to do his own business. He's recruited a sidekick, Bearman, which is pretty hilarious.
Bearman stuff has been.
He's hilarious. So they're there. He's working on installing some security stuff, and who shows up? Taskmaster. And there's this whole lead up that he does where he goes. He's like, villain-wise, he's like, can it be somebody else? Anybody else? No matter where I go, this guy's always been waiting. The deadliest mercenary on the planet. Blah, blah, blah. And then it shows him just looking up, and he goes, our old arch enemy, Taskmaster. And then the next panel is he goes, Taskmaster's like, huh? Ant-Man looks at him, what? No, Taskmaster says, no, it's just, you seriously think you're my arch enemy? And then they go on this whole spiel about how Taskmaster's like, hey, you kind of suck. I mean, I'm just kind of here to kill some time, you know.
You're my footnote.
You're a footnote. So it's, but, kind of, Ant-Man kind of replies, talking about his costume and how it doesn't make any sense. He's like, it's like Ghost Pirate Captain America clone with a cape. Pick a theme. so that's kind of like the.
Who's writing that?
Let's see. I'm not prepared here. Last name's Spencer. Nick Spencer.
I've never heard of
doing
him,
that. Yeah, I'm not.
I read his. What the fuck? It was an X-Men book. It was the one where they were on the run, and it was like Cable and Colossus.
Yeah.
I can't fucking remember the name of it, but yeah,
this series has been a real surprise. He's been thrown my way after reading them, and I was just like, I'll give it a shot. It's been a really good humor book. It's humor's the Scott Lang take on the Ant-Man.
Absolutely, and I'm not going to go a whole lot into the issue 4. I will say that one of the best scenes Todd brought up to me is Bearman bursting through a wall, and all he yells is, "Who turned off the air conditioning?" That's kind of the vein you're getting with that book. And there's, under it all, there's still like a serious plot kind of thing going on. I'll let you guys at home read it for that, but if you want that mixed with a little bit of kind of cheese, I guess, pick it up. I've loved it so far, and I'll keep you guys posted on where it goes. When it turns to crap, I'll let you know.
Fantastic. We like a little book with a little humor. And there's a few books doing that well. Deadpool was doing it okay, and it's over now. They've killed Deadpool, and so he's not around anymore. I dropped that book a while ago just because they were relentless with throwing a $10 issue at you with no warning, and it was pretty painstaking to follow.
Sell my car for that.
When it was a bi-monthly book in the first place,
I'm always leery of those, but
it's like you're in for $8 a month regardless, and then they drop another 10 on you out of the blue. It's like I had enough of that. But Deadpool's gone, so but Harley Quinn over at DC is really killing the comedic aspect. So there's some books out there doing it well, and the Independent Sex Criminals is still my number one comedy book. That book is just insane.
I've heard a lot of good stuff about it.
Yeah,
I haven't picked it up yet.
It's fantastic. I have the first trade of that as well, though I think it's loaned out. But I got to get it back. But anyway, that wraps up another show. Muji joined us via the magic of technology.
So magic.
So we'll be back in a couple of weeks. My pull list is so slim next week, I don't even know if it's worth. I mean, if you guys want to, we certainly can. But I think probably 2 weeks we'll shoot for another show.
Yeah.
I'll be in the happiest place on earth a week from tomorrow. So I won't be doing any podcasting that week. But as soon as I come back, Age of Ultron will have come out. Mm-hmm. That's what we'll go ahead and advertise now. The Age of Ultron movie review is coming next time on Getchyapulls. So whatever you're doing, in the spirit of Muji, I have to end it the way he does. Go to the movie theater, get your popcorn, get your Coke, and when you're done, free comic book days the next day. So go get your free pulls.